The long-awaited trade has finally been made official. The Owen Sound Attack have traded Colby Barlow to the Oshawa Generals, and it's a pretty big trade here. As Colby Barlow, a leader both on and off the ice, one of the top goal scorers in the Ontario Hockey League, will now join a Oshawa Generals team that's already pretty deep up front and looking to make it back-to-back seasons at the OHL final. And this, I think, is going to be able to help them do that. Obviously, we're still at the start of the year. A lot of things can happen between now and the playoffs. But I really like this pickup for Oshawa. Although, to do a trade like this, you do have to give up some assets. And we see that going the other way to Owen Sound. Tristan Delisle, centerman, he's going to Owen Sound, along with David Bedkowski, who's a beast on the blue line, along with 6 draft picks. 2 of those are second-round picks in 2026 and 2027. So the Owen Sound Attack doing a great job getting these pieces back in return of Colby Barlow, who, of course, did not report to training camp for the Owen Sound Attack, said he wanted to focus on the Winnipeg Jets. And when the Jets sent him back to junior, he had no intentions of going back to Owen Sound, as he was ready to be traded to a contender. And it sounds like there was at least 5 teams that were interested in Colby Barlow's service, along with Oshawa. It sounds like the Brampton Steelheads also kicked the tires, and the Barrie Colts. But ultimately, the Owen Sound Attack liking the package they've received from the Oshawa Generals. And it kind of follows the trend that we've seen this year, where big-name players being traded early in the season. It started with Carson Rakoff going to the Brampton Steelheads from Kitchener, and then Tristan Bertucci from the Flint Firebirds ends up in Barrie, and also Ryerson Leanders going from the Brampton Steelheads to Brantford. The top 4 teams that are considered to be contenders in the East have all now made a key addition to start the regular season. It's going to be fascinating to see how the season all plays out, because Colby Barlow should fit in nicely with this Oshawa Generals team. Because like I said, he's one of the top scorers. Last year, he missed some time due to a back injury, so he only appeared in 50 games, but he made up for it. 40 goals on the season. In 2022-23, Colby Barlow put up 46 goals in 59 games. He could reach the 50 goal mark this season, obviously, as long as he stays healthy. And he might get an invite to Team Canada at the World Juniors, which might take some time away. But I would think Barlow is a player that could push 50 goals this season on an Oshawa Generals team that already looks really deep. They're waiting for some pieces to come back from NHL camps, but Barlow, of course, already returned. So it sounds like he should be in the lineup tomorrow night when the Generals take on the Niagara Ice Dogs. And he will wear his number 39 for the Generals going forward. So I really like this pickup for Oshawa, but they did have to give up some good pieces in a trade like this. So Tristan Delisle, a centerman going to the Owen Sound Attack. He's a player that gives you an honest effort night in and night out. Great centerman. Will get more minutes playing for the Owen Sound Attack. So far this season, 1 goal in 3 games. So expect his totals to increase. Last year in his rookie season, 7 goals, 11 assists, 18 points. I would expect his numbers to be better this year. And I think fans in Owen Sound are going to like Tristan Delisle. We saw him in the playoffs last year. He was a player that would be putting in an honest effort in every game that he suited up for the Oshawa Generals. I like this pickup. Should be a top 6 forward for the Owen Sound Attack. But the big piece, David Bedkowski, stands 6'5", 215 pounds. He is a beast on the back end, and seeing him play at the Bayshore is going to be a lot of fun. Dale DeGray in the offseason said he wanted a blue-collar team and wanted it so that the visiting team didn't feel comfortable playing in Owen Sound, and that's exactly what he's going to get with Bedkowski. He's not going to wow you in points, but he does play a physical style. He'll clear the front of the net, which is great for Carter George, who's considered one of the top goaltenders in the OHL. So with that, maybe the Owen Sound Attack could be a team fighting for a playoff spot in the West. So Bedkowski so far 2 games, no points. He's a +1. Last year, he only had 2 goals, 10 assists, 12 points. So don't expect him to be on the game sheet or the score sheet every game, but he will make his presence known in the lineup for the Owen Sound Attack. So I do like this from the attack perspective. Going to rebuild, it's not easy trading away veteran players like Colby Barlow, but you are getting guys like Delisle and Bedkowski who will contribute to this team as they look to develop and grow. So I know it's not easy for the Owen Sound Attack, but they are getting some good pieces, which I think will help them in the coming seasons, along with those draft picks. It's a great haul, similar to what Carson Rakoff got coming out of Kitchener, and also Leanders out of Brampton. So Yes, it's not going to be easy for Owen Sound fans, but the future is bright going forward. Now, looking at the Oshawa Generals lineup, they're deep. And now that you've added Colby Barlow, they're waiting for Callum Ritchie and Beckett Seneca to come back from their NHL camps. Seneca actually played in a preseason game last night for the Anaheim Ducks and looked pretty good with 1 goal to his credit. So we're still waiting to see how long does Seneca stay up with the Anaheim Ducks. He did have that foot injury. It seems like he's healing faster than expected, which is great news if you're an Oshawa Generals fan. But the question is, how long does he stay with the Ducks? Does he play a regular season game? He was selected third overall, so the Ducks might want to see more of what they have from their young prospect. Well, Callum Ritchie doing a great job with the Colorado Avalanche. We'll see if he sticks around much longer. He's expected to have a big season. Also, Dylan Robrick. It's his overage season. He's not yet returned from the New York Rangers. The Rangers sending him down to the American Hockey League. So time will tell if Robrick joins. Remember, he's 6'7", 205 pounds. He's a monster as well. So things looking really good right now for the Oshawa Generals. And this just means they're ready to contend against Brampton, Brantford, and Barrie this year. It's going to be a fun regular season in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, still more moves will be made between now and the OHL trade deadline in January. It's just going to be interesting to see how these four teams do down the stretch and how the other teams are going to respond to the Colby Barlow move. Obviously, now with Barlow being moved, the focus now shifts to the Sudbury Wolves and Quentin Musty. Will Musty be moved in the coming weeks, or do the Sudbury Wolves wait until the trade deadline? Because at the trade deadline, that's when teams can trade their first round picks from last season's draft. And of course, we saw that with Peterborough Petes last year. They waited to the trade deadline to trade Owen Beck to the Saginaw Spirit. And that's how they ended up getting Taylor from Saginaw, who's was a 16-year-old last year. And that's the only time you can trade those 16-year-olds is at the OHL trade deadline. So I think for Sudbury, they're a team that's kind of in the middle. I did that interview with Brian Cooper. He's the radio play-by-play voice for the Sudbury Wolves. We were talking about that, how Sudbury's kind of, do they maybe add some depth players or do they sell off to look to their future? And I think we'll get that decision closer to the trade deadline. That's when Quentin Musty will likely be moved. But then the question is, where does he go? Does he stay in the Eastern Conference to one of the contenders in the East? Or does he go to a contender in the West? I think it's going to be fascinating. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns between now and the OHL trade deadline. But right now, the Oshawa Generals making a statement by acquiring Colby Barlow from the Owen Sound Attack. That's how I see it from the booth. Let me know in the comments section down below your thoughts on the trade that was announced earlier today. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Talk to you again soon.